God damn it, we're gonna make this damn vid. Mainly because I procrastinated so long, I wanted to do 2-for-1 special. Hoping to get this and read along Volume 8 before the premiere of the anime airs. If not, I'm actually working hard, finally, to get it done after the premiere. That will include the first review vid of Episode 1. So overall, expect 3 Call of the Night vids around the same time of the Call of the Night premiere. Especially since I got a lot of other vids, I'm holding off until I finally finish this review. So for our first read, Volume 6 is very enjoyable. We get to dive into Kiko as a potential villain, we get a nice date chapter, and we get plenty of more chapters with our growing group of characters and learn more about their personalities. And then we get to start diving into Nazana's backstory. In a first read, it's a lot to unpack and arguably the best because you maybe get only one chance to breathe the entire volume. But on a second read, this volume is chaos. We switch up narratives like 3 or 4 times. For the beginning volumes, it was typical because we get introduced to things, but by the 4th volume, we're in a consistent state of storytelling with each volume. 4 had the overall theme with each chapter. 5 had started with a question and ended with an answer, but 6, midway through, takes a complete change of direction. The first being the mystery of Kiko and Ko trying to figure out how much he should trust her or inform Mahiro about her. The second being the detective Anko trying to hunt down and kill the vampires using trinkets of their past. Mahiro, who was originally the main plot device for everyone to make decisions of how to handle this major situation, isn't even an afterthought by the end of this volume, with the assumption that Kiko ain't biting him until we finish momentarily the second conflict. So typically I detect themes and whatnot when reading volumes, but with how chaotic this volume is, I have gone mad not being able to do that. I have been able to deep dive into other things though. First is based on the date with Ko and Nazana in Tokyo. Ko doesn't get it. Being the typical pessimistic introvert, even though he loves the mystery of the night, Tokyo is just one big idealistic fantasy that overwhelms him. It's not mysterious, it's overcrowded. It's not provocative, it's disgusting. Now, Nazana clearly views things differently, that the idea of dreaming of something bigger than you are when alone, especially since it parallels the fact that Ko alone cannot become a vampire, and requires something bigger than himself to accomplish that dream. Also just the small fact that Nazana appreciates doing things she wanted to do alone, now with Ko, and same for Ko, realizing even though he appreciates his hometown because it's where he met Nazana, that feeling now is latched onto her rather than the town, because his home is no longer some physical place, but it's anytime he shares time with her. Questioning what love is to him if he's not still turning after she bites him, even though he feels that way towards her. It does show more of his colder side and things, and proof why he's so damn hard for Ko to turn and become a vampire when he still believes he should be falling for Nazana. Just writing this now, but almost makes you wonder if there's a twist to what Ko is. Ko does acknowledge that he's been looking for love the wrong way, and that you don't need giant soap opera or world-turning events in order to fall in love with someone. It can happen anywhere, and to anyone. Nazana adds to the point that as long as it happens, and as long as they're happy, who are others to judge? Happiness isn't something that can be guaranteed at a specific place or at a specific time. For as filler as those 2 chapters might feel compared to the meat of the plot, it's also the strongest about the heart of the series. There are more I can deep dive into those chapters, including Ko's slip up at the end, forgetting he'll never get to experience a normal zoo date with Nazana. But we still got a second half of Volume 6 and all of 7 to get into. Now, back to Kiko. The bigger problem is, although Mahiro intends on becoming a vampire, and they haven't really shown how much blood you have to suck when your blood donor or victim is being bitten, Kiko does not intend on making another vampire. And the scary part about that is, will Kiko try to drain Mahiro of all his delicious love-tasting blood? She loves the taste of love, and knows once she does it, they might turn. So she tries to build up the taste for savoring, and she hates the fact that she turns humans. So, although other vampires and Ko are being a little laxative, because they're treating it more like your friend is hooking up with that girl that has plenty of rumors about her, and aren't trying to pry because they have their own issues so they can't judge, it still should give them pause that Kiko has no intention of turning Mahiro, and I sort of fear that that might be a strong turning point in the series that could also cause Ko and Nazana to at least try to interfere when the time comes. And then we're greeted with this new role in the universe. Old relics of their human past can weaken and kill vampires. It's an interesting concept, especially when given the information that vampires tend to slowly lose their memories of their human lives the longer they go on as vampires. Almost as a defensive way of procuring their immortality, definitely shines a light on the idea that your past can always hurt you. Aki points out the fact that because of that, it also causes you to forget how you fell in love with the vampire who turned you, almost like it's a coping mechanism, because you forget all the good times and reasons why you fell in love with the vampire, especially considered once you've turned, they have to find someone new to feed on, as well as you having to do the same. Again, in this world, turning vampires is different. Rather than having to deal with the death, like how the detective views it, and most every other vampire story about turning, in this world, it's like dealing with a breakup, in a sense that they do actually lose their humanity, not just a stereotypical way, but because they literally lose the memories of their human selves. Like in how slice of life anime series, once they've admitted they love each other and kiss, it's usually the end, mission accomplished, on to the next one. And so here, like, once you fall in love and take a bite, where's the story go from there? Sure, some vampires stay with their offspring. Most when you look at the relationships the others either have or lack thereof with their offspring, it's not the greatest pull in favor of relationships lasting long. And although some vampires do remember some or most of their past, there is that fear. And Siri has an answer to that fear and problem that Aki points out, which is that she'll remember them for him. And that's the beauty of staying with your offspring. And now for some of my favorite chapters in this series so far, digging into Nazana's past. This definitely has to be a 2-episode story. A few major things are revealed within volume 6 of these chapters. First being that Nazana is around her 30s, making her arguably young and still considered a newer vampire. Second, there is the second time we are revealed that another power of vampires, being able to go through objects. It's not specified how or exactly what, but twice, technically 3 times now, we've seen vampires able to physically flow through things. The third is we get to see Ko's mind at work again. Just like back in the cafe, Ko puts his brain to the test, observing and detecting clues towards his surroundings. Little do we know that he puts more together than he knows when looking forward to Volume 7. And we're teased with answers as well. With the main question going into Ko's mind is why does Kabura treat Nazana in a motherly way? There's also just the hilarious fact that Nazana is scared of ghosts. On to Volume 7. This one was so much easier to navigate through. With what we originally suspect as Nazana on the cover, now realizing it's actually her mom, for what we originally suspect may be Nazana's backstory from someone else's point of view because she doesn't remember. We then get the twist that it was actually the story of how Kabura met Nazana's mom, fell in love with her, and felt forced to look after Nazana, who is a spitting image of her own mother after she died. That is indeed a lot to take, so let's start with the in general, like Volume 6. This volume itself has 3 perfectly good moments and where they could end the first season if it goes up to only 12 episodes for the first season. The main theme being when Nazana turns around and Ko and says, "Another nice night, perfect for self-discovery." This volume is all about self-discovery, from Nazana and Ko learning about the truth of Nazana, Kabura having to look into herself for how she truly feels about her situation and about Nazana, Midori traveling back to her past life, Nazana looking back at her time to show Ko all she remembers about herself, and Ko, although along for the ride, is going through his own journey, whether he's conscious or not about it, and discovering what he may find and he will eventually love about Nazana. Kabura reveals that she's kept certain blood in storage to remember moments that she's slowly forgetting because being a vampire, like scrolls of her memory chamber. We then get to a very cool transition of a story about Kabura falling in love for the first time to a girl that looks exactly like Nazana. Her story is one of heartbreak and tragedy. Almost like getting a demon's past story in Demon Slayer, we see something different from our past character introductions in the series. We learn about the human Kabura and the vampire nurse that took care of her, named Haru. It honestly feels like its own indie movie, having to see this poor girl struggle and try to live a normal life and fail every time. When looking back at this story, it's very much Kabura rediscovering how and why she ended up becoming a vampire. For her, this was supposed to be a love story. After all, you become a vampire when you're in love with the vampire sucking your blood. And we know from Volume 3 that she's the type that likes to take what belongs to others for herself. showing a clear grudge over the fact that she feels, in a way, that her first love was taken from her, just like how in her human life, her freedom was taken away from her. Although her story is meant to reveal Nazana's truth, we also get to see hers, and it's some of my favorite writing in the series. The truth being that Nazana is actually half vampire and half human. Her father was a human, and her mother was a vampire when she became pregnant. And this brings to a very interesting theory / question of mine. Can Nazana turn into a human then? Since she was born a vampire? I mean, I know the original plot is for Ko to turn into a vampire, but I just wonder, because the series has used so many moments to take its own route rather than the typical vampire story route, just feels like a possibility. What if when Ko turns into a vampire, he bites her and she turns into human? Honestly, just spitballing ideas right now. We know her biting human, at least, is the same as a normal vampire. Maybe what happens if she bites another vampire? Just thoughts for future possibilities. Midori's side quest is really cute, and Nazana's hunt for weebs and otakus is hilarious. She's probably my favorite of the group, maybe it's her short hair. Anyway, we then lead to the final chapters that lead into the next volume again. First thing that's major is that Nazana is told that both her parents are dead. Whether this is true or not doesn't matter to Nazana because she's never met them. They aren't her home that she's searching for. Her home is already being built with Ko, and although he's yet to turn when being bitten, he basically professed his intentions of always being with her. And in order for her to truly understand what she is or who she is, she's willing to take him on an adventure of self-discovery, bringing him to places of her past and hopefully finding clues. For Nazana, alone, it may have felt sad or stupid, but with Ko, she's glad she's taking this step now. Just like she stated when dismissing the idea of finding yourself, what if you find out who you've been was the same person all along? For her, it's the adventure that's going to answer the question, because she's falling for someone in the process. Searching for past memories will bring about new ones that'll shape who she wants to be. For Nazana, she's hoping to achieve that her past will strengthen her, not weaken her. The cutest part is after arguing, Nazana kisses Ko, not to shut him up or to quit fighting, but it feels like it's just something she felt she wanted to do in the moment. Genuine romantic affection. That's all the main juice for what I've got for these 2 volumes. Again, I love this series. I love these characters. It's one of the most unique and interesting vampire worlds that keeps me guessing. Good spicy lore and lovable characters is all you need sometimes. Sorry for the extra long wait, but maybe it was for the best to help me go around seeing what I wanted to read about in these 2 volumes. Before analyzing, I thought the Tokyo chapters were filler. Only when rereading did I see the beauty about it. I was holding off watching the first episode until after I finished this review, so expect the review of the first episode as soon as well, and the read-along of Volume 8. Can't tell you how bad it's been not getting to even peek at the pages or even the chapter titles. I love chapter titles so much of this series. Anyway, I just wrote about 10 pages worth of dialogue. What did you like about these 2 volumes? What are you looking forward to more? The confrontation with Kiko or the next fight with the detective? As always, thank you for watching, and go read a book.